Hello, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in, as always, and for your commitment and dedication to your practice. The reason I say that all the time is because that is the highest and best offering you can give anyone, anywhere, and there is no close second, not even close. So thank you for that. Let's talk today about guilt, then, shall we? Let's talk about guilt and our choice to see it everywhere and how we have the power to choose otherwise. How about that? Now, if you're new to A Course in Miracles, it makes perfect sense that a lot of these ideas are going to seem a little strange to you. And actually, they may seem strange to you even if you're a longtime student of the course, but that is entirely possible. These videos are designed for everyone because even as experienced students, we don't know when the light, the proverbial light, is going to come on. So we continue to listen to our inner teacher. So we continue to show up and do our forgiveness lessons as they're presented to us. We continue to walk along the path because today could be the day where something really resonates. I mean, you just get it. And when that happens, that is a very beautiful experience. And of course, it's very profound. It can be life-changing, for sure. So let's have that happen today, shall we? So let's talk about guilt. Guilt from what? What are we talking about here? Well, guilt over the supposed separation from God, with emphasis on supposed. We think that we're here on this spinning ball of rock that we've labeled Earth, and we think that we're this thing called an individual human body. We think that this thing that's 80% water and is, well, fallible, highly, as it turns out, fallible and impermanent. We think this constitutes who we are and what we are. We believe we're separate from God. And here on Spinning Ball of Rock, we look around us and we believe that we're separate from everyone else. We believe we're separate from our brother, from other life forms. We perceive one separation after another. Not a single one of these separations is, in fact, true. They're all illusion. There is no separation of any kind. It's one thing to say that, yet when we go about our lives, we forget that often. That's why it's so important to take time out, and doing what you're doing right now in paying attention to this video is huge. It's very, very important because in our daily lives, we have work, we have kids, we have the dog, the cat, family responsibilities. We're preparing a meal, we're paying a bill, we're occupying our time with one thing or another. And it's not very often that we pause to think, wait a minute, there is no separation of any kind. None. That's not the first and foremost thought that occurs to us in the stream of activity that is our daily life. So let's repeat the idea over and over again until it becomes embedded in that stream. And every so often, you'll find yourself forgiving the Son of God because the idea has popped right back into your mind. There is no separation of any kind. Guilt is meaningless. It's nothing. So we feel guilty for having thrown away heaven. So we think. We think we've separated from God. And we feel guilty. This guilt is, in fact, immeasurable, so much so that it's unconscious for the most part. It's deep-seated unconscious guilt. What we're aware of is what bubbles up to the surface, to this screen of life, and what appears on it. And it appears real and solid and painful. And we don't have to see it. We talked in the last video about our fear, and it's almost a congenital fear to look within because we're afraid we'll see our own blackness and our own guilt. Yet, were we, in fact, to look within, we would see the atonement instead, the correction of our inner teacher. Central to this is the acknowledgement that the separation never occurred. There's no guilt, there's nothing to feel guilty over because the separation never took place. It's a dream, it's illusion, it's impossible. We can't separate from God. That's not possible. Deep down, we all know this. Now, whether we've chosen to acknowledge this is a completely different question, isn't it? Yet we all know that's why we're on the spiritual path. That's why you're here. You may or may not have formulated this in your mind as the reason why you're here, but this is how it all works. The call to awaken goes out to everyone, all of the time. First of all, not everyone's listening right now, clearly, or they'd be watching this. And this would be the most subscribed channel on YouTube, which it won't be. That's for sure, right? So not everyone's listening. The call goes out to them nevertheless. At some point, you've not only heard the call, you have also answered it. That's how we all find ourselves on the spiritual path in the first place. So it's one thing to hear this pixelated image on your screen, a talking head say and repeat that there is no separation of any kind. The separation never occurred. It's one thing to listen to that. It's another thing to work that into your mind to the point where it becomes automatic and habitual. Remember, this is a course in mind training. Isn't that exciting? Actually, should be. When you think of the magnitude of, well, what's in it for you when you forgive totally. I mean, think about it. What we do here in the world when we're terrified to look within, believing we'd see our own blackness, our darkness, our sins, our impurities, all of the nastiness, our guilt, in other words, When we're afraid to look within, what we do is we can't stand this feeling of guilt, so we attempt to displace it. We attempt to get it away from us, so we project it. This is what projection is. When people talk about projection in the realm of psychology, this is what they're talking about. We can't stand our own deep-seated guilt, so we want to get it away from us, and we put it off on whoever is standing in front of us, our brother. We put it off on the government. For example, it's their fault. It's my brother's fault. It's my boss's fault. It's my ex's fault. It's the cat's fault. It's the dog's fault. It's the weather's fault for making me feel so horrible. We displace this and we attempt to get it away from us. Guilt enters into all of our relationships where we see our own and project it, or we see our brother's guilt. We try to share guilt with him. All it does is make us feel guilty. We are the ones that feel guilty from our own refusal to look within. We want to see the source of guilt as anywhere but where it is. Projecting it, we want to see it outside of us, but it's in us. It's in us, our mind. We've placed it there. We've made it. So that's what we choose to see. Now, you may be thinking, well, what about all of what you've just said? There should be no guilt at all. There's no guilt. Of course, there's no guilt. It's in the past. And it's not looking within when we look within and see guilt, because the past upon which the guilt is based is not in you. The past is not in you. When we feel guilty, we're looking at the past, what supposedly happened. We supposedly separated from God. We supposedly separated from our brother. We supposedly harmed our brother. Our brother supposedly harmed us. No. The past is not here. It's not within you. When we look within, we're looking at what is now, right now. The past is gone. It is not in you. So looking upon guilt is not, in fact, looking within. It's looking at illusion, which is not the Son of God. You are not illusion. Your brother is not illusion either. We're invited to truly look within. Where we fear we would see our guilt, we do not see guilt at all. We see, rather, the atonement, the correction of our inner teacher. The separation never occurred. We see love. We see light. We see ourselves and our brother as we really, truly are. That's what this course is all about. Learning to see things as they really are. So this particular conversation underscores a theme that runs throughout spirituality. And I'm talking many, many traditions here, not just A Course in Miracles. And that is the importance of the present moment. This is why practices such as mindfulness, practices such as meditation, that's why these are a thing in spirituality worldwide. In seeing guilt, we're looking at the past. We're not looking within. The past is not in us. This means that salvation is now, right now. When else? It's the only time there is. We would readily accept that the past is gone in the abstract and that the future is not yet here. Of course we would. It seems obvious, yet we live our lives as though it were not obvious. We live our lives in exactly the opposite way, dwelling on the past and what we did or our brother did, supposedly, or on the future, what may come, thinking that the future is going to be exactly like the past and skipping over the present moment completely, when what we should be doing is returning to the present right now. That's when salvation is now. Think about how profound that actually is. Now. So if you're thinking, wow, this could actually happen anytime, right now. Yeah, right now. So what must we do? Well, we must learn that there's no reason for guilt. As long as we think there's a reason for guilt, we'll see it everywhere. But as we learn that there's no reason for guilt, as we accept continually, again and again, as many times as we can and must, atonement for ourselves, accept the correction of our inner teacher, central to which is the idea, the fact that the separation never occurred. We accept this in our mind again and again. There's no reason to see guilt at all. So, A Course in Miracles spends lots of time, you'll have noticed, on the same ideas, presenting them in slightly different ways, in different chapters, in different sections of these chapters, in different language. And again, what I want to do as a practical matter is call your attention to the fact that it might be the 1000th time that you hear something. It might be today where that light comes on and something really hits home. It resonates and makes sense for you. Hence the repetition of these ideas. Truth here is we're all stubborn adult learners, or we would not appear to be here in this form. We wouldn't need to have this conversation, but here, while healing the mind is needed, we have need of the guidance of our inner teacher. So I thank you for joining me. To the extent that you have questions or comments in any way about this or anything related to A Course in Miracles or your spiritual practice, please feel welcome to leave these comments here. This is intended to be a forum for us to have these discussions. There've been a number of excellent comments here, and that's wide open. So if you've got questions, please feel welcome to leave them. If you want to simply pop in and say hello, that's absolutely welcome as well. I'd love to hear from you. Now, if you've not yet subscribed, I invite you to do that. Please go ahead and click this arrow here in the corner of your screen. You'll be prompted to subscribe and join us. A number of videos come out each week, so go ahead and join us here. All right. Well, thank you as always for your dedication and commitment to your practice. Again, I can't stress this enough, that that is the most important offering you could leave and give anyone, anywhere, at any time. Because there's only perfect oneness. When you forgive the Son of God, you're benefiting every single living thing. There is no separation of any kind, remember? Think about the wider implications of that. All right. We'll see you soon.